Well, it's a beautiful day to go on a bike ride. I thought it was going to be cooler, but it is pretty warm already, but pleasantly warm. So 25 degrees Celsius is pretty comfortable. Once it gets up to 30, riding becomes a bit difficult because you don't cool down as easily. You're evaporating your sweat, but the wind tends to make it evaporate quicker, and you don't realize you're not really cooling down because you're exercising and you need a lot of water, and sometimes you can just forget that you need to drink a lot and have your electrolytes and maybe take a break once in a while to cool down, because the wind is making you feel cool, but your internal temperature is not cooling down. I don't know if that's, physiologically a good explanation of what's going on, but that's kind of what seems to happen. I've noticed that today's a fairly dangerous day in terms of that, because it's a pleasant temperature, but the sun is extremely powerful, and the breeze will make you feel like you're cooler than you actually are. I've got some water with me and whatnot, and the good thing about riding around here is there are cafes everywhere, so you can always stop and have a little snack and some mineral water and whatnot to keep your electrolytes up. So yeah, it's pretty good. Now I'm thinking about where to go. And sometimes it's just so beautiful. I need to go where the views are. So here I am. You can see the sign here. Geolocated. So yeah, I'll go up this hill to this area that looks kind of nice. So I was reading on the American Exception website, and I find it really interesting. I like the book. I'm not sure about all of it, especially the weeds of like who killed Kennedy and all that, and why it matters, because he's dead. They're all dead. And nothing much has changed in terms of the tripartite state, if you want to call it that, the deep state. He makes a point about the interpretation of John Locke and missing out on the absolutist elements of John Locke in terms of what the sovereign's role is. So it's all about the national security state. So it's almost like a Roman dictator. You have an emergency and you need a dictator to come in and call the shots to protect the state. It's very deep in the weeds kind of analysis and thinking, but it's interesting, and I can't explain it all, but the main thing is that there is this sense that there has to be a Hobbesian type sovereign that makes all the decisions for security reasons, right? And monopoly, the state has a monopoly on violence and so on. And really have to understand where the city-state comes from how it evolved into place and all that kind of stuff. And what this kind of exceptionism, or not exceptionalism, like we're just better than everybody because we're special, but this is an exception to the rules. And generally that means the rules or rule of law as it exists to protect commoners, common people. But the code of capital really exists to protect oligarchs and wealthy players. You know, it depends on the time of history you're looking at, but it's been like that for a long time. If you're looking at modernity being like 400 years or whatever, and then industrial blah 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 revolution. Anyway, so there's this sense that there are these opaque, shadowy organizations that support the government with policing or with intelligence and so on, that can help the dictators, the governors, the corporate CEOs off the books in a shadow way when things are in an emergency. Anyway, when you understand all this stuff, you understand why we need perpetual wars, why we need Russophobia and Sinophobia, why our world, our culture has to be in a constant state of emergency, because emergency feeds the oligarchs. It feeds the upper class. And it's just like when you think about serious people, you know, the suits, the serious people, and all their technological fixes, you know, and their you need all these really complex things to run the country, and the plebs and proles just don't get it. They're too simple. And if you pander to them through populist policies like, we want to give you health care, we want to forgive your student debt or whatever, that's buying votes. And you know, you just don't give things away to the lazy masses. They're idiots. And also, you know, around the world, if you're a colonialist, imperialist dog, you know, if you're the empire baby, you don't want to give shit to brown people. Since when did someone in Nicaragua have the wherewithal to govern themselves? Come on, man. We have to go down there and tell them what's important and take what we want. And if they don't give it to us and our partners, our service providers and oligarch partners, the corrupt people that we bought off, will kill them. And the whole thing is, you know, it's like we're bribing them, the oligarchs in the global south, and they're working with us to rob their own countries, their own people. But if China gives Nicaragua some buses or, you know, something like that, they're buying them votes, you know, they're buying you off. You're a whore, a prostitute, you're taking the money. No, people need certain things, and we think of a democracy as we have some say in getting what we want from the people who serve us in government. But that's not how it works at all, anywhere. So you have Chega here with Ventura, faux populist right-winger, who's really a fascist corporatist, and it all gets turned around. People think, yeah, he's going to give us what we want and what we need, the common people, but in fact it's just a clever way of bait and switch. And it's just tragic because people can't see through it. And you have to understand the messaging for these, you know, the channels and mechanisms for propaganda. I'm going to go this way this time. are very robust and powerful and resilient and well-resourced. They got a lot of money, corporate media and so on. And they get their scripts from PR firms and advertising agencies and think tanks. And they're very good at messaging and pushing people's buttons. So people actually think that, if Obama or Biden or any politician actually wants to forgive debt, they won't be able to do it because the system won't allow it. And then you can blame them for promising something they wouldn't deliver, like it's their fault. He said he was going to forgive my debt and he didn't do it. Liars. Democrats are liars. And then the smart people can say, see how you've been had. But all the time it was the capital code that was robbing you, ripping you off, taking advantage of you. I think I can go through on this dirt road. So, but the way they shift things around and con you into believing that you've been had by someone that you haven't been had by exactly. And once you're Obama or Biden or anybody and you go into that system, you're captive of it. It's a form of, bureaucratic Stockholm syndrome. You may have had good intentions for a while, but those get beaten right out of you real quick. So you can see the grapes. Let's see, little grapes. See that? Isn't that nice? That's a big bunch of grapes. And I love that, verdant fruit growing everywhere, as I always say. Lucky me. But it's a kind of Stockholm syndrome. And once you get in, whatever idealism you had, or you want to serve the people type thing, gets stripped from you. And you start to play the game the way it's meant to be played. And when I say that, I'm talking about the code of capital. Because the whole situation, sovereign states and nation states, it's about power and violence and competition for scarce resources. There's never enough to go around. There's only enough for, the oligarchs and the kings and queens and whoever. And if you're lucky, you have a trickle up kind of thing because you believe that you're just one lottery ticket away or one degree away from becoming a billionaire, a player, a Bill Gates, a Mark Zuckerberg. And you believe in that. That's really the only dream, is you too can be an oligarch and rob common people around the world, take their shit, convince them there isn't enough to go around, and ruin their world. Well, I have another friend I follow, Eric Lee, and talk about R and K species. So our species, Homo sapiens, have been taking over the world for a couple 100,000 years, but with gusto and as a growing population from 75,000 years ago. And the idea is just to go out and conquer and take over and go wherever you can go. And he describes it really good. If you're old and powerful, you stay home and breed with the women that you captured from the men you killed. And the younger ones, the young guns who want to go out and become big shots, they go and they explore and they conquer and they do the Viking thing. You raid as you go, because you need resources while you're going to find better fields and places to breed and to settle, and all those migrations have happened over and over again, in particular after civilization booted up, when the population was large enough and people started to learn about agriculture, settled agriculture. So then you have this economy of scale, and you have hordes, and you have more complexity in what you can make, industry, and so on. And we know how that evolved until now. So when I was a kid, I was a young gun, go to Japan, go to China, do the entrepreneurial thing, work at companies and whatnot. And, you'd hang out with other wannabe empire babies who were going to conquer the world, or else they were just getting paid absurd amounts of money to do practically nothing. Compared to the salary of a local 300 RMB a month, and you're making thousands, and you have housing and everything. It's crazy. And you're taking advantage of arbitrage, and it's just global capital, globe cap. And so you're lucky. And then the funnest people you meet when you're out and about in the world, like I was, are the IFAs, the International Financial Advisors, who preyed on the fat bank accounts of expats. They selling insurance and investment products and whatnot. And they're always out and about to party because they meet the expats at these gatherings and parties and get-togethers and meetups and playing baseball or football, European football or whatever it is you do as an expat. All these little cliques and groups and bars, where you drink and you have fun and you chase girls. And they're a kick in the ass to play with, right? And they're just bottom feeders running around thinking, we're really smart. We know where you can put your money and get a better return than you can just leaving it in the bank kind of thing. So that's the idea there. And they are fun, but at the end of the day, I don't know why I'm so afraid to just go down, because it's rocky, and I worry I'm gonna slip, but then if I break, it's not good. It's so fun. So that was an interesting little road. So I figure out where I am now. Don't get hit by a passing car. I think I'll go this way. So you have these different economies going on, and they're always teaching us how stupid we are and helpless we are and how much we need all this stuff. Like, you just aren't going to be able to make $1 anymore, ever. You can't afford life anymore, but you're never going to be able to afford life if you can't get up to speed with the AI economy. We need more data centers, more stuff you can, prompt into a photograph or a spreadsheet or a little bit of code to make an app or whatever. And you're never going to get it unless you come to heal and support these Ponzi schemes. You got to have like a stable coin so that you can trade cryptocurrencies. It's pure speculation. Pump and dump schemes. And if you don't support that with your body like a battery in the matrix, you're just a shit for brains. And you need all these technocrats and experts and well-educated, Ivy Leaguers who are playing the game, all the service providers, the lawyers and accountants and all the little office workers and all that. You got to become that and be a good consumer while you can. And we don't pay attention to anything that really matters. And so our modern techno-industrial civilization is just accelerating towards its absolute catastrophic and horrifically deadly collapse. And you can't ever forget that way back in the day, there's maybe 1.5 million people on the whole planet migrating around, going from Eurasia to Zealandia or wherever the hell, Australia or South America, migrating around. And then you have these innovations like agriculture, and then boom, you're up to 5 million, 10 million. Then you're kind of stuck at 1 billion people around the world for a long time. And then 60 years ago or something, I don't know, the number's on my head, but you go from 2 billion to 10 billion, like in just a generation. And all of this is predicated, obviously, on fertilizers, Hyperbosch, oil and gas, all of this kind of stuff. We couldn't have done it without it. And you're mining the low-hanging fruit in terms of minerals and so on that you need to make all your stuff. And complexity is going out of control. Things are getting more and more complex every minute. And the world becomes more and more of a black box. And a black box opens up and a genie flies out, and there's no controlling the genie, because that would be, trying to regulate the economy. So the genie gets let out and it just runs around like a banshee doing whatever the fuck it wants to do. And the externalities and second, third order effects are never even discussed as long as people are making money. So that's why you can't have safe development of, artificial intelligence, and you can't have public goods anymore. The public television, NPR, PBS, BBC, whatever it is, has to start to accept corporate donations and sponsors, and then it becomes captured by their needs. It's not public anymore. Anything public is just stupid. It's like doing things for the public good. It's just dumb. Obviously, you're going to fix the roads and you're going to have the dirty jobs to keep the sewers going and the lights on, because then people really would revolt. Take away their circuses and you're screwed. But over and over again throughout history, the bread has been taken away multiple times because of greed and bad management and a misunderstanding of nature and all that kind of thing. So more wonderful grapes. I love these grapevines. So you're trained from day one to believe in this shit. And anytime anybody wants to give you something that you want, that 70 or 80 or 90 or 99% of people want, that person gets assassinated or their career gets destroyed, and they're just gone. They're not considered a serious person. Or they're selling you a bill of goods, over-promising. Or they want to give things to people who want handouts, welfare moms, lazy, stupid people who expect something for free. And, the name of the game is not that. It's to make the world safe for Anglo capital. And then China goes about it differently. But you hate the Chinese because you've been trained to hate them. And because they do it differently, you say, see, they're bribing the people. They built schools and ports and transportation networks. They're bribing the people. And the people are too stupid to realize they're being bought off. And it's not going to end well when the Chinese come and take over everything. Just like in the TV shows, the Irish are pissed off at the Chinese because the Chinese are taking their jobs, building the railroad. There may have been some friction between ethnic groups, over that type of thing. There always has been, like gangs in New York or whatever. But it's small compared to just all these kind of enslaved people doing what they have to do to survive, and recognizing that it's a class thing more than an ethnic thing. I mean, you can debate how bad things were in the past in terms of racism and xenophobia and whatnot. But, ooh, that's a nice place to hang, have a snack. But we tend to get, just bullshitted into submission. And if you don't have all these complicated things that make shitloads of money for the upper management, then you're an idiot. And you look at the pie and you say, dude, if we pay you more, your croissant is going to be like 100% more when you go to have your breakfast. And, you're not going to like that much, are you? Kind of thing. Well, what about reducing the fucking executive compensation packages a little bit? What about making a little tiny bit less profit so the shareholders make a few bucks less than they would have, and stuff like that? Because if you're smart enough to be a big shareholder, you're not going to take care of the fucking plebs and proles, these little leeches, stupid freaks. And I really do think there's an element of disdain, if not outright hatred, then just pure disdain for common people, ordinary folks. If they were worth an extra $5 an hour, they'd be sitting in my office. They would have figured out the game by now and done something to get rich and powerful. And so you're tolerated. It's like, I'm nice to my doorman, and my doorman loves me. And I have wonderful conversations with my driver, and my Pilates instructor, and my masseuse, and my drug dealer. And we all get along really good, because I'm such a nice guy. And I tip well. I tip 30%, because I know what it's like. When I was young, I worked in a restaurant for 6 months. Stuff like that. And when you spend a lot of time delving into the mechanics of how propaganda works and public relations works and communications work, like just listening to Trump's communications people, it's just so painful. And it's a certain type, very robotic type, that's good at just spouting the script. Here are the talking points. Don't veer off of that. Everybody's stupid, and you're stupid, and your job is to feed any smart journalist the talking points and leave it at that, and let them speculate, and then you can tell them what bad journalists they are because they're speculating. My sources say, see, he doesn't have any sources. He's just speculating because the White House communications person didn't tell him anything. It's unnerving. It's frustrating. And then this leads me to something I wanted to talk about, which is pride and vanity, and how weak we are, how needy we are for validation and attention. I used to be a little more like that, but not too much, because I always had pretender syndrome. And I was always kind of metacognitive, something, self-critical, not in a pathological sense where I become depressed or something, but it just kind of seeing things and going, well, I'm a human being. I'm subject to the same problems as everybody else. And my mommy and daddy did something mean to me, but they're people, and there's reasons they did something mean to me. It doesn't excuse them, but it's more complicated than that. And I think this kind of recursive or discursive or metacognitive thinking, or whatever you call it, I don't know, sometimes the technical terms don't come rolling trippingly off my tongue. But anyway, you're thinking and yourself and where you got your thinking, and you're also theory of minding that, superimposing those complex thought processes on your judgment of other people. Like, they too. And then you understand that some people just might not be wired that way. So you can't blame them for not thinking the way you think. Anyway, this is probably, these ways of thinking are probably, I'm not going to say I'm intelligent, but signs of a certain kind of intelligence. And I don't think AI has that at all, and it probably never will. In the olden days, the computer people, the smart asses, they, real engineers that were thinking up stuff and innovating and really trying to understand the potential of computing. They had different ideas. They were more socially conscious and less corporatized in the beginning. And they had different ideas of what computing was going to be all about, and that didn't pan out. Obviously, it got co-opted by, we used to call it enterprise computing, the enterprise. But their thinking about AI was always AGI, artificial general intelligence, and somehow there was potential there to do something. But think about it. It's like, how hard is it to live a healthy life if you have friends? Like, for me, the happiest thing I can do is hang out with friends and have a conversation or do something together, period. I'm just ecstatic about that. That's the thing. And it's simple. It's not that hard. And everything has to be really stressful and complicated, and then you have to come up with these really high-tech solutions to these problems that we've created in modernity. So one of the things about AI now, one of the selling points is that it's going to cure cancer. The economy. The AI is going to cure cancer and do all this wonderful thing for us, but it's not. It's not going to do shit for you. You're not a player. Unless you own a lot of stock and bonds, a lot of securities, if you own a lot of capital, real estate, whatnot, it's not for you. It's just a Ponzi or a scheme or a scam to set up the next thing. So in the old days, the next thing was, these assholes. I'm not even going to name their names because they make me sick. But, somebody creates a browser like Netscape or whatever. What's going to be next? And Zuckerberg, he thinks, he made the smartphone obsolete somehow. I don't know how. And his next gadget, these glasses, are going to make everything in the world obsolete. And it's all marketing bullshit. And we need all of these things. And of course, they're not going to have just 100% positive impact on the world. They're going to be unintended consequences. And we're not even going to think about that. So all the hype, the PR, you have to launch another coin, a Bullion T coin. You have to make sure that you've got some backing so you can do the marketing and the advertising and the hype to get the token to go up. And then you sell as fast as you can. Once the price has gone up enough, 200, 300, 400, 1,000%, and you run. And all the plebs and proles who thought this was going to be the answer get crushed And yeah, a few tulip holders or South Sea bubble holders like in the old days. Bubbles are always happening. They get crushed too, but they know the game. So, yeah, my first million was it was a little bit difficult. I had to figure things out. But I went bankrupt 12 times, and my 13th billion was easy. It was like, water off a duck. It was falling off a log. After a while, you just know how to make money. And people like Elon Musk are really good at that kind of thing. You're not really doing anything that interesting or ingenious or innovative or exciting, but you do know how to harness the capital and bring people some returns on their investment, which is more important than anything else in the whole wide world. And people will circle the wagons and support you, but the minute you start to really fail and go bankrupt, you're gone. There is a moment where powerful, wealthy people can be stripped, but by that time they're usually older, and they don't have that much to do or that many women to impregnate anymore, so they just go off somewhere and live off a couple $100,000 a year instead of having private jets and yachts and so on. And our job is just to play into that game, and it's an emotional response that we have, and the idea is to let our buttons get pushed and react in a certain way. I was trying to explain to my friends about NRX, Neo-Reactionary X generation, the other day, because a lot of people over here don't know anything about that. So, where do I want to go? Oh, look at that cute little cafe. Oh, it's Centro Recreativo Popular. Since 1974. That was a good year. They had nice hairstyles. That was before the 80s really wrecked hairstyles. The 60s, the bouffant hairstyle of the 50s, all of that stuff was good. Once you got to the 80s, man, it was like WTF, brah. In my humble opinion. Of course, some people disagree with me, especially people who know a great deal more about fashion than I do. Anyway, why did I say that? Because 1974 was a good year. You can have like a leisure suit and psychedelic shirt, polyester shirt with a big collar and sideburns. Oh man, fucking hell, brother. You're not just going from madman, single, straight, narrow tie to hippie, bell-bottom pants and long hair and peace sign necklaces and, shirts from the 50s that you bought at the secondhand store. And there was a moment, after 74 where people were like getting into the not the grunge, the punk thing. Oh, that was beautiful. The punk thing was good. That was a lot of fun. you every once in a while you just have these moments of like taking used stuff and making them really cool. I love that. Used stuff, cool stuff. There's a place over there that's kind of cool, but I don't know if I can find it. I might try. So, yeah, I got off on a tangent there, didn't I? Now I have to like reboot my brain and go to the memory bank and slip back in the floppy disk that has handwritten on it with a Sharpie. What the fuck was I talking about on it? Dated and backed up. Ooh, I'm gonna go this way. Yay! So, yeah, Anyway, we keep getting conned by all these things and we think we need them, right? Whereas real, wonderful, happy, healthy life is quite simple. And it's not that expensive. It doesn't cost that much to have a wonderful life. But we're all conned into this thing that it's an illimitable plane and there's unlimited opportunities for growth. And you're a young gun, you gotta go out there and make your mark. And that means eventually we have to leave this planet and take over the bloody universe. And if you're not down for that, you're just a boring, tragic idiot, a fool. You don't want Star Trek. You don't want to be Captain Kirk, you stupid idiot. What's your problem? And, you know, prime directives and all that. You know, you keep talking about the Dyson sphere. You know, we're going to build that out of magic. So we're going to have magic that's going to allow us to build a Dyson sphere. Because I'm in touch with some aliens, you know, we communicate telepathically. They trained my brain how to receive their messages. And they're going to tell me how to use dark matter and dark energy to build a Dyson sphere. Not on our sun, that wouldn't be nice, but on the next closest sun. What is it? Alpha Sun? I forget. I don't remember everything they say. I have to write it down in my laptop. So, yeah, and then I'll be able to do that miraculously. I'll be very cool. I'm going to be able to live, you know, 30 more years, 40 more years so I can get this done. Because it has to happen soon. This climate problem is a problem. And if you're smart like me and technocratic, you know, techno-oriented, then you understand it's a thing. So I have to fix it real quick so that we can go out into the universe and take over other planets. You know, because of all those billions and billions of trillions of future souls who are also going to want to conquer everything. And extinct species around the galaxy and take over shit so they can have more attention and more respect and more status and they can be strong and smart, smarter than everybody. Yeah, so that's what I'm talking about here. And it's this pridefulness, you know, this pride comes before the fall. Oh no, why you say things like that? And 7 deadly sins and whatnot. So we're going to, we need this so bad, and we're so afraid that somebody is going to nick a little bit off of us. You know, it's like you're young, you have a pretty girlfriend, and you're pretty proud of her, and it took you a long time to get the right configuration of girl with the right lines and curves and attributes and eye color and hair and whatnot. And you think she's the only one in the universe like that. And if anybody gets even close to her, it's a big threat because you'll never find another Buffy like that one. It's so pitifully sad. It's not this, you know, getting to know someone and falling in love with them and understanding that you're going to be good partners and good friends and that the sex is going to wear off eventually and it doesn't matter. And of course, if you are oversexed and you want to be a swinger your whole life and you can find another swinger, that's fair play to you. But what I'm saying is we're so jealous and envious and wanton of everything and we can never get enough. And it's sad. In my book, it's quite sad, actually. Because life is not that hard if you know how to live it, and if you don't have these conquering competitive assholes robbing you all the time and treating you like an idiot. When I travel, you know, one of the things I've noticed in people around the world, being a white guy, colonialist pig, is that, you know, a lot of people would say, you know, most Westerners think we're stupid. And even Portuguese people have said that to me about Germans or Brits. They think we're stupid. Because the further south you go, the dumber you get, unless you're an Anglo-Saxon or from Northern European descent. You know, if you're like the kind of foreigner that Trumpists like. So they would say, they treat us like we're stupid and you don't, so you're kind of a weird foreigner. I wonder why that is. If you speak Japanese, you're boring because, you know too much about them already and they can't practice their English with you, but they still respect you for it. It's funny. But this gets extremely old for me, this wanton, tragic, I've got to be the center of some social clique all the time, and if I don't get enough attention, it's just going to kill me. And then people get very jealous and territorial, and it's like, dude, I talk to that person on my podcast because I talk about these things. People here who are still selling something. And then you come along and you want to talk to them about overshoot. And you steal my guest and bring them to your podcast. Well, at least only 5 people watch yours. I've got lots of people because I sell investment products or whatever it is, vitamins or real estate. The real estate here has gone up and up and up, and it's really madness. And it gets to the point where people can't afford real estate anymore because all the foreign capital is coming in and buying it up at a higher price. This is markets, and you have to be convinced constantly that it's for your benefit. So Shega Group here has to convince you through populist messaging that it's better for you if the corporations own everything. And of course, you pretend like you're good for Chinese corporations. You're good for, American corporations, for all these different corporations. And you're not on the take. You're not being bribed. You're not getting campaign contributions for this. You're a good guy, and you're going to help people by kicking the fucking immigrants out because that's the reason your rent's high. It's the migrant workers who pick all the pears. They're the ones fucking you over. It's those laborers that your fellow Portuguese businessman hires because he can pay them less. And he doesn't have workers here anyway because they all went to Germany or the States or China or somewhere where they could make more money. They're not here. The nurses are all in London and Berlin. So, you have to be convinced that there's something simple out there that's come to rob you, take advantage of you, fuck you over, man. And it's those brown people, black people, poor people, lazy people, people who don't have the guts to be real businessmen. And then everyone just falls for it, and they're all talking about it, and then it's word of mouth like a movie, I didn't see any advertising for that film. It's called We Used to Be Dragons, AI generated, but it just caught on word of mouth, and now it's viral, and everybody's seen it like 12 times, and you're not cool if you don't know about it. So, yeah, and then everybody starts talking about it, and then, the media is echoing it and messaging it all the time. And it's like a debate. It's up for debate. It's debatable. There are other sides to it, but they're not nuanced. They're not contextualized in history and other ways so that you can understand the slight complexity of the situation and realize what it really takes to get what you want or what you think you deserve as a citizen of a country. I happen to live here, dude. I happen to live in this country. And, I expect to, be taken care of. I pay my taxes. I'm a productive member in a John Lockean, Adam Smithian way. My individual wants and needs contribute to the welfare and the excitement and the beauty of our culture. That's the way it's supposed to be. But underlying that is this populism, not populism, sorry, is this absolutism, the security state, a constant, never-ending emergency that has to be sorted by the dictator and his oligarchic people, or the people at court in the kingdom, in the castle. You can't live without these people. Not only can you not handle the truth, but there's no way in heck you could survive another day without the beautiful care and love of your sovereign. The Leviathan, you need them. They're the ones that provide all the value. They're the ones that you get your electric car from. How hard is it to have an electric car? Who killed the electric car back in the 60s? Or whatever. But at the end of the day, you know, we're going to run out of oil and gas. It's going to get harder and harder to get it. So the bottom line is the market, the whole system, is going to kill itself. It'll commit suicide because it just won't be profitable anymore. We've got oil, we've got gas, we've got coal, but it's just not profitable anymore. So you folks are going to have to do without. Not over on our city-state, not at our lovely little, how does one say in English, crypto state. All of that's going to be as good as ever. It's just going to be that you're not going to have any of it because it's not for you, my friend. We have a stealth city. You wouldn't even see it if you walked by it. And that place is nice. Oh, it's one of our favorite restaurants, and they've really done some improvements to it. It looks like a fun place to hang, baby. I don't know what to do now. Well, I'm not going to stop and hang. I know where that leads. I'll have to drink wine. So anyway, that's the bottom line. So they'll have their energy sources, and they'll harness the sun and minerals and materials to build their solar and wind power, and they'll be pumping water up a big slope and letting it go through turbines, and they'll have all their stuff, and it'll be really efficient and high-tech and cool. And they'll be augmented by technology. Maybe they'll just be machines, and they'll be fine. And all of us can run around the jungle and scuff up our feet, hunting and gathering again. And we've missed the whole point of, like, well, why did if those, K species hominids before us all went extinct, and they were normal evolving K species for millions and millions of years, 6 million or so years, why did they all become extinct? Oh, there are a lot of reasons to become extinct. Lots and lots of reasons, and it's interesting to explore that subject. But what's really fascinating about us is we're a Puff the Magic Dragon. We're a puff. And we ran out of fuel quick. We used it all up real fast. We're not spewing any fire anymore. And we're going to be a blip. Homo sapiens sapiens. They existed for 200 some odd years on Earth. And they did a lot of amazing things. It's like you have in an interview and the CEO goes, "We can see by your resume you've done a lot of things." Did a lot of amazing things. And they just kind of crapped out. They didn't get it. They didn't understand their place. And I think, like, are getting to a state of culture and a population where Homo sapiens are evolving again over millions of years, because supposedly we have like a 500 million years or something left before the supernova, so we got lots of time if we wanted to use it. Actually, we'll be dead way before then, but yeah, some event's gonna. But it is amazing how our species survived all these temperature changes and ice ages. 10°C, 13°C changes over time, but these were the changes that happened when we were wandering around taking over the planet, happened gradually. So we had plenty of time to pick up our furs and our spears and our atlatl and go walk around and find another place where we could scrape a living, hunt and gather. And so we managed to keep going, and poor old Neanderthal and Denisova and all that, they just disappeared. Not before they contributed some DNA to us. Thank you very much. Thank you. Let's be appreciative of Neanderthals, for God's sake. And but what we're doing now is we're shifting everything so rapidly, so quickly, that the civilization that we've developed, which isn't all good, by the way, will just explode one way or another. And again, as I always say, I have to use my disclaimer here. I'm not a doomsayer or doomer or doomist. I'm not any kind of guy like that. I'm not trying to rain on your parade. I'm not a wet blanket on your kitchen fire. I'm just saying, if you understand a wee little bit without being an expert, you read the experts about physics and biology, you know what I'm talking about. Energy. So we just came and went really, really quick. We did a lot of amazing things, though, man. This camera I'm talking into, it really kills the wind noise. It's amazing. I don't know how they did it. I don't get the algorithms, but it's fantastic. Done a lot of amazing things. Done a lot of things, bro. So, like, my disclaimer is, you want to get rich. You're going to start your own meme coin or token. You're going to tokenize, and you're going to get rich. You're going to trade your tokens in for renminbi and take your Chinese classes, your speak Mandarin, and you're going to trade it for the falling USD or whatever, and then they're going to have all these great, like, city-state coins. And then we're going to be unplugged, and you're going to go, what the fuck happened to my currency, motherfucker? Where's WeChat when you need it? And it's going to be this horrible, horrible slap in the face. What happened to my WeChat? I can't pay for anything. I don't know how much money I have. It's all gone. And it's like, we don't know the storage medium of that anymore. We can't access it. We're missing something in the software. I know it's on this hard drive, man. It's got to be in this data center. And you're going, yeah, man, it's got to be here. It is here, man. We just can't access it. We don't have the keys. And then you're like, damn, I wish I'd learned how to dig a well. I wish I knew if I could eat that weed without killing myself. Of course, that's not going to happen in your lifetime, dude. You're going to tokenize. You're going to, join the service economy. You're going to be a badass. And you're going to take from the poor, the downtrodden, the stupid, lazy idiots, all the people who want handouts. You're going to rob them blind. And you're going to tip well and give them lots and lots and lots of tips. And you're going to be able to live with yourself because of your philanthropic activities. And you'll probably have something named after you. And it'll all be good. Okay, I'm going to stop talking now. Buliamti out. Stop recording. Oh man, I stopped for a bit. I was looking at these horses and a donkey. I really like donkeys. I think they're super cute and lovely animals. And sometimes, but anyway, I just stopped for a second. It really is hot. I definitely feel it now. I might have to take a break. But I was thinking when I turned off the cam that I kind of forgot to mention all these revolving door things like regulatory capture, money is speech, all these things that have been kind of coded into our culture. And so it's very hard to, everybody wants to self-regulate, right? The crypto industry spent like about $300 million on political contributions and whatnot. They realized that they might not be able to capture the regulators, so they want to get politicians elected that will do their bidding. This happens a lot across industries, and it's one of the main problems and one of the main reasons why the system is structurally corrupt. And it's almost impossible to turn that around because people who are educated and have like an expert understanding of a domain and have to pay $100K for their university education and whatnot might want to work for McKinsey for a while to pay off their student loans before they go into their I want to be a good guy job and do the right thing. And by the time you've worked for a corporation or McKinsey or something for a while, your brain is so warped that any kind of altruistic ideas or socially responsible or socially positive ideas are gone. So yeah, it's like the do-gooder NGOs or think tanks. You don't make that much money, and there's no career path that leads to wealth and fame. And again, you need your validation, and you need your these are my cows. They live an idyllic life. They eat natural food augmented with some corn feed amidst the olive trees. Yeah, so it's very hard to develop a culture that's based on all of these needs to be a big shot, to create a just system that works for common, ordinary people. And that's why the disclaimer, right? I mean, if you're a smart young person and you want to have stuff because you know it would be just untoward and terrible to be given anything, like Norway or Denmark or whatever. It's like, I don't want to get any free shit. I'm smart. And you believe that, then you have to go into the system, and you have to contribute your wealth into structuring it, strategic structuring. The enterprise, which is the whole quasi-religious socioeconomic system, to support whatever the thing is that you're doing to make money. Oh man, this is making a lot of noise, isn't it? And and you too can be a billionaire. Or you can be close to a billionaire, and they can pay you a lot of money, and that's great. So the rest of everything doesn't matter that much, to be honest. Like worrying about the military-industrial complex, forever wars. You have to be in a constant state of emergency for the system to work and pay out huge quantities of cash and capital and dividends to the players. And then you elect, or you get elected by hook and crook and through money as speech. The candidates, the president, the sovereign, sorry, a bug flew in my mouth, the dictator, the whatever, who's going to make decisions to keep you safe during this constant state of emergency. And do you really think that while all these people are dying around the world, these soldiers in Ukraine, that Zelensky and Putin and all of them, all of the players aren't making a shit ton of fucking money? And then the tech bros could pretend like they're innovating, you know, and building the next generation of smart gun or whatever it is. And, you know, if you can't convince people that your innovation is just so wonderful and it's an age of abundance and just leave us alone, let us self-regulate, and the world's going to be the kind of world everybody wants to live in. You know, magical world where you're in the metaverse and you don't know you're in the metaverse. It's the Matrix, right? And it's so beautiful. You can dodge bullets. Ooh, I smell some kind of chemical. But you know, all the players are making lots and lots of money, and if you invested well in the military-industrial complex, you're laughing, you know, and you're deciding who to tip and who to give some money to, which is nice, you know, and you have that power, that agency to choose what kind of luxury car you want and why, all the tedious reasons why. So yeah, that's the thing. You gotta educate yourself about the revolving door, how that works across the Anglosphere, the global north. And then you have to understand how it works differently in Eurasia context and in the China context, and how modern monetary theory in Japan is one thing and